This episode is brought to you by PCL. PCL is a group of independent construction companies that operates throughout Canada, the United States, the Caribbean, and Australia. As one of the largest contracting organizations in North America, PCL completes more than $11 billion in work annually, building projects that shape communities. The company's 100% employee ownership model fuels a culture of commitment for clients in the buildings, civil infrastructure, heavy industrial, and solar market. PCL's teams are proud to build with and learn from Indigenous communities in a number of places in this land. Learn more and watch PCL build at PCL.com.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Roots and Hoots, a podcast project produced by the Legacy of Hope Foundation. Since 2020, we have been gathering, laughing, learning hard truths, and sharing in community conversations with Indigenous peoples across Turtle Island. Each episode, we learn something new, and we're excited to be sharing this journey with you. Roots and Hoots is about connecting with and celebrating Indigenous people's contributions to their fields of study, work, and cultures. We also speak with allies who share how they are furthering the work of reconciliation in Canada. To learn more about the Legacy of Hope Foundation and the work that we do, please visit legacyofhope.ca.
In this week's episode of Roots and Hoots, we are joined by former Master Seaman with the Royal Canadian Navy, Guerin. Greg speaks with Gordon about his 12 years of service, including some of the most fulfilling moments of his career. With this interview, we honor Greg's story and the collective debt all Canadians owe to those who fought to defend our freedoms. On Remembrance Day, we remember their courage, their sacrifice, and our shared responsibility to ensure their service is never forgotten.
Hello and welcome to this podcast of Roots and Hoots. I'm your host, Gordon Spence, and today our guest is Greg Guerin. Greg is a former Master Seaman with the Canadian Navy and is a member of the Kanasatake First Nation. Welcome, Greg, and how are you today?
I'm good, and thank you for having me. A pleasure to be here.
Let's start by telling us a bit about who you are, where you're from, like your First Nation, and a little bit about your family background, your community.
It's been about 50 or 60 years I've been away, but I'm from the Mohawk community of Ganawagi, where I was born. My family is registered out of Kanasatake. My family, all my elders are gone now. They're gone to the other side. There's only my brothers and sisters still alive.
Yeah.
And we're in our 50s and 60s. Apart from that, when I could have left Quebec because of all the separation talk, I did. And the main reason for that was I don't like people dictating what I should do. It offends my nature, my whole being. Freedom of choice for speech. And it's a funny thing I mention that because my mother refused to teach me the Mohawk language when I was young for the simple reason she said that you're going to survive in Quebec, learn French. So I did.
Yeah. So you didn't learn to speak Mohawk?
Well, some of the bad words.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, any language, even with French,
Right.
Tagalog, or any other language,
Yeah.
I think what you first learn are the bad words.
Yeah.
Learn not what to say.
Yeah.
And then people help you along the way to come to a more reasonable level of, how they say, skill.
In your home community of Kanasatake, that's also known as Oka.
Correct.
And how much of the language is spoken like in the community?
I would say among community members, Mohawk is spoken because there's been a resurgence of that. The language was considered a dead language at one point. There were a couple of ladies, I'm not sure, and I think there was a Mary Deer who brought the language back through tapes and later CDs. I believe English is spoken along with French, but primarily I think the families themselves do speak Mohawk.
Yeah. There's a guy named Brian Miracle from Tyndiniga who not only he not only learned his language, he's Mohawk from Tyndiniga, but he ended up teaching it, So he was, he was determined to learn the language, and now he's a teacher of the language. So you're absolutely right when you say it's a resurgence of the language and the culture.
Well, to destroy a culture or to forcibly assimilate people, you take away the language, culture, and the family.
Yeah, which is what the government tried to do with the First Nations people, Inuit people, Métis, I guess, as well, when they sent the children to residential schools in various parts of Canada. Was anybody in your family? Did anybody in your family, or did you, or anybody in your family attend residential school?
No, I went to what was called a boys' home, because my mother deemed me a bit of a problem child. I spent from 72 to 76, and then I joined the army. My auntie Sheila, she went to residential school.
Yeah.
And at that time, the girls that were deemed an issue, they went through something called eugenics. It was enforced sterilization.
No. Yeah, I heard about that.
I don't know why they had to go do that to her.
Yeah.
Because what my mother had mentioned to me, my auntie Sheila lost some of her sanity, pushed her over the edge, took away the choice to have a family, and that was eugenics. I think in Canada first started with the Alberta government.
Is that what they call it, eugenics?
Well, eugenics, sterilization.
Yeah.
It's just like too when you take a pet.
Yeah.
And you bring them to the veterinarian, and they either spay or neuter it.
Right.
It's supposedly designed to calm them down too.
Yeah.
After, because they don't want to run. They're not quite as how can I say, active or aggressive. And my auntie was an outspoken woman.
Yeah.
Very outspoken.
Yeah.
From what I know.
Yeah.
Apart from that, I mean, I have other aunties and uncles that went through the residential school system, and they were scarred.
Yeah.
They were scarred.
Mm-hmm.
I went back to Oka just before my son was born to bring him to my traditional territory.
Mm-hmm.
I said, this is where I'm from. This is your land as well. This is your home. Your grandmother is there.
Yeah.
Your great-grandmother is here. Your Uncle Charlie is here. I said, we're all buried here. This is where we belong. And he says, really? I went, yeah. You're part Mohawk. You're part Filipino. I wanted you to see that.
Yeah.
So Mama Bear could understand, too, why we do get a little militant.
Yeah.
When you try to take something away from us, no, we're going to dig in.
Yeah.
That's the way it is.
Yeah. We've heard a lot about, maybe not the young generation, but many Canadians heard about the Oka, they called it the Oka crisis in the 90s, I believe it was.
Yep.
And, but people like Ellen Gabriel from your community, one of the leaders there, called it the resistance. Were you there when this happened? Or
No, I was on my last warship, the HMCS Annapolis, in Hong Kong. I had a little getaway bag, stashed in Vancouver at my friend's, my roommate's house. And I said, that bag, make sure it's still there, it's not touched. I may well need it when I'm coming back, I was forbidden to travel by my captain, R.J. Luke at the time, to travel within 250 miles of Oka.
Of Oka, yeah.
I said, why would I go home?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I would defend my mother.
Yeah.
And I'd defend my aunties.
Yeah.
My grandmother.
Yeah.
Because the idea was land theft. Once again, a never-ending issue.
Yeah.
They wanted to disinter everyone from the pine forest cemetery. They wanted to dig up the dead.
Yeah.
Move the bodies or the remains of them somewhere closer to Maniwaki, so they could expropriate the land through developers in Oka itself and the federal government, Mulroney's government, to make a condo development. And we were not going to receive anything from that because the land's expropriated for the greater public good. Well, which public?
Yeah.
Certainly not the indigenous population.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
And which angered me severely. And when people on my last ship found out I was Mohawk, says, "Well, you don't look like them." I says, "What is them? We're people too."
Mm-hmm.
How would you feel if your grandmother and your grandfather, because the government wanted to put up condos, okay, disinter them, move them to another cemetery?
That's crazy.
You know, that's
Insane.
disrespect.
Yeah.
Period.
Everything. Yeah.
Final resting place.
Yeah.
Leave them there.
Yeah.
Leave it alone. You know,
It's like sacred land, right?
it is.
Yeah.
You won't see that happen to a Catholic cemetery. You will not.
Never.
No.
Or Christian.
Or Christian,
Yeah.
Muslim, you won't see that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But Native communities who had to experience that.
Mm-hmm.
And she's right when she says it's the resistance, not the crisis.
Yeah.
No.
And now, a word from our sponsor. Ayaya songs are about our histories. Ayaya is an Inuit-owned firm that tells our stories in many languages across Canada. They are experts in publishing children's books, usually in syllabics, and they do large multi-language projects like the reports of the Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women and Girls Commission. If you need help getting your stories into classrooms or homes in Cree, Inuktitut, or other Indigenous languages, check them out at ayaya.ca. That's ayaya.ca. Ayaya is a proud sponsor of the Roots and Hoots podcast.
You started working in the Canadian Navy, and how did you start to become a seaman and eventually becoming a Master Seaman of the Canadian Navy? How did you start this?
Well, you go through recruit training.
Yeah.
It was at the time in HMCS Cornwallis, right outside Digby, Nova Scotia. You do 16 weeks at that time for me. So it was a severe winter. You're acclimated, I would say acclimated to a harsh environment because you're a soldier, you're put out there.
Mm-hmm.
And you do all kinds of training, weapons, marching, first aid, everything you're going to need. You do a lot of drill, a lot of discipline.
Mm-hmm.
And then once you graduate, 16 weeks later, you go to what's called your first venue of training. Mine was the other end of the country in Esquimalt for my actual trade as a naval communicator. About 4 months after that, I graduated, third in my class,
Mm-hmm.
and then I got sent to the HMCS Coupel. You do time on board.
Which is what?
A warship. It was a destroyer ocean escort.
Yeah.
And in that framework, or in that frame, you do what's called on-the-job training.
Mm-hmm.
I actually apply my craft, what I learned in the labs, in the school, in the communication school, in real time,
Mm-hmm.
with carriers, with cruisers, submarines, everything. You know, the whole gamut. And every, I think, year you do what's called a performance evaluation report. You're always being evaluated. And me, I really didn't care. You know, I was at sea, I was having fun, I was traveling places.
Mm-hmm.
But the seriousness never escaped me because the ultimate, the ultimate outcome for a soldier is to not do his job. Because who has the right to take a life?
Mm-hmm.
So I was conflicted, because I'm basically learning how to end someone's existence.
Yeah.
Not personally up close, but by a distance, by, say, working in an operations control room, talking on circuits, radio circuits,
Yeah.
and if necessary, contributing to naval gunfire being called in, all that stuff.
Kind of indirectly, right? Like,
Indirectly
yeah.
responsible.
Yeah.
And you desensitize yourself. That's what your training is for. You concentrate so much on what you're doing,
Mm-hmm.
you don't really think about the end result of what's going to happen at the other end,
Yeah.
at the business end of what you're doing.
Yeah.
And after a while, you become a senior hand of the watch. Basically, you run the watch at night
Yeah.
when there's no petty officer there, who is the second in the department, besides a yeoman of signals. They have confidence in you.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Yeah.
The idea of sink or swim applies.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
here, either you sink or you swim.
Literally.
You pick and choose. Now.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I know that there's a lot of Mohawks from the other reserve called Kanawagi, that's just outside of Montreal, go to the United States and join the Marines. Now, what's it like in your community? Is there a history of that? Marines and the Navy and the
It used to be that way. Every fall, from what I know, my mom used to tell me, representatives of all 4 American service branches would send, they'd have to take personal leave, but they would go and sit in the Oka Tavern. And obviously some community members go in there and imbibe the, the beverage of choice. And they'd be passively recruited. To make that more complete, they couldn't sign you up right there.
Yeah.
You had to go to a recruiting office in Plattsburgh, New York.
Yeah.
And my mother absolutely forbid me to becoming a Marine.
Okay.
That was my intention.
Yeah.
Oh, big time.
Yeah.
I just like the idea of, going to sea, learning something extremely hard,
Mm-hmm.
becoming someone better. And one thing, too, that the U.S. provided that the Canada didn't is something under the Lodge Act, which is continuing education for you.
What do you mean by that?
Well, you go to college or university, anywhere.
You mean after you?
Oh yeah, you complete your terms of service for sure.
Okay.
You contribute as well, and what they did, I think, the policy was they contribute $3 to year one.
Yeah.
So you could have tuition for 2 or 3 years. And once you get in there, you get a scholarship.
Mm-hmm.
It opens the door for you.
Yeah.
In Canada, it wasn't like that.
This was an American policy?
American policy, yeah.
Looking back on your 13 years of service in the Canadian Navy, what stands out the most about that time in your life? Is there a particular incident or
Yes.
place?
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
Off the coast of Hawaii, Kahulawi Range, Naval Gunnery Range, I was the naval gunfire communicator and communicating with the actual bunker on the island where we'd shoot off our rifle guns and all that. I broke a 33-year-old U.S. Navy record for accuracy. No mistakes, 3 runs perfect.
Wow.
My captain wanted to commend me for mention in dispatches. You only get that in wartime.
Yeah.
Or conflict theater of operations. But he did actually submit a nomination for the Canadian Defense, what do they call it, CDS.
Yeah.
And the Chief of Defense Staff would award this yearly to certain individuals who exemplified, good service, professionalism, and I didn't win,
Mm-hmm.
but I was nominated for.
Okay.
And
Did you ever receive any medals when you were in the Navy?
no, because I had certain times where stress, pressure got to be too much,
Mm-hmm.
and you step outside of the norm.
Okay.
You have to be disciplined back. Get back on the
Okay.
track. By saying that, I should have had a medal when I was in there for 12 years.
Yeah.
Because of the penalty I had to incur,
Mm-hmm.
I had to serve additional time, 2 more years, to get the Canadian Forces Decoration, the CD, the red gong you see.
Yeah.
That's long service.
Mm-hmm.
And I would have had that if I would have been able to deploy to the Persian Gulf in 1990.
Okay. Yeah. What is when you joined the Navy and such as what you did, or the Marines? What are you under a contract to stay there? Do you sign something that you can't just walk out, right, on the job?
Well, you can.
You can't?
It's called desertion.
Desertion. And then what happens if you desert?
You go to prison.
You go to prison?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, because you sign. You
Yeah.
sign a contract with them. Mine was IE, which is indeterminate service. It was a rare one. I would serve until I was 43, from 18 to 43, 25
That was a
years.
commitment that you made, or what?
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you broke that, what? You couldn't break that?
I could take an honorable release too.
Yeah.
6 months of, how could I say, grief from your superiors.
But you have to go back.
Well, no, 6 months later it's called an honorable discharge.
Oh, okay.
But for that 6 month period,
Yeah.
you're worked on psychologically. You notice a subtle shift in how your superiors view you.
Really?
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Well, like what? Like
Well,
they treat you differently?
they treat you differently because there's no more sense of how could I say, them having to invest time. That was then. It may have changed in the
Yeah.
intervening period of time.
Yeah. You worked, spent a lot of time in working in the submarine. What was that like, working in a submarine?
Well,
You're isolated, you're underwater for a long
I
period
did
of time?
volunteer for submarine duty.
Yeah.
I had to undergo a remuster
Which is
to a
what?
radioman. In other words, you change trades, change jobs.
Okay.
I worked on hunting submarines,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like fishing.
Yeah.
With a GPS transponder, which is sonar.
Yeah.
But actually living in a submarine, no, I didn't serve on board a sub.
No.
No. They were looking for submariners, and I figured, well, that sounds like an adventure. And it wasn't worth it because the subs are getting older. They're starting to break down.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
So submarines are all over the world, are they not?
well, they're pretty much in any industrialized nation,
Yeah.
like say Germany, Korea,
Russia,
Russia.
Canada. No, like I'd heard that there were submarines seen in the Arctic Ocean.
Always have been.
Yeah.
Always have been. That's where, in the Arctic Ocean, where the ballistic missile submarines from Russia, when they deploy every fall and spring,
Mm-hmm.
that's where they go on the station under the ice.
Really? Yes. Yes.
And
Yeah.
there's a game of chicken,
Yeah.
which is called, between the Americans and the Russians, called Cowboys and Cossacks.
Oh, what's that?
I mean, American cowboys, Russian Cossacks,
Yeah. Yeah.
But what they do is they track each other.
Mm-hmm. Well.
They usually do it by active sonar, which is they send out a frequency, a pulse,
Yeah.
whereas we specialized in passive.
Mm-hmm.
We trail a long tail, towed area sonar system, and that picks you up quietly.
This episode is brought to you by PCL. PCL is a group of independent construction companies that operates throughout Canada, the United States, the Caribbean, and Australia. As one of the largest contracting organizations in North America, PCL completes more than $11 billion in work annually, building projects that shape communities. The company's 100% employee ownership model fuels a culture of commitment for clients in the buildings, civil infrastructure, heavy industrial, and solar market. PCL's teams are proud to build with and learn from Indigenous communities in a number of places in this land. Learn more and watch PCL build at PCL.com.
And they don't know it.
They don't.
No.
Case in point was my last trip in 1990 to Russia. We went to Vladivostok, and the naval brigadier general said, "Oh, by the way, we were tracking you with a nuclear attack submarine." I said, "Well, that's nice." And like, not me personally, but the idea was just to intimidate you. Well, in actual fact, that was the first deployment of what was called a CANTAS, Canadian Naval Towed Area Sonar System, passive. It's just like a long telephone cable.
Yeah.
And he says, "Oh, no. Behind the November attack submarine, you had an Akula too. In Russian, that means shark. We were tracking it as well." And his face dropped. Canadian technology.
Yeah. Yeah. You traveled like you in the Navy. You must have went all over the world, different parts of the world. Is there a place, like a port, that stands out that you enjoyed being there? Or
I did. There was one in particular. It was Vladivostok in the Soviet Far East. I always like reading good books by good writers. Gogol was one of them.
Yeah.
I had opportunity when we were in the Vladivostok Hotel to go into the room where he wrote one of his books. Which one I can't remember, but I sat there, and wow, this is where greatness happens.
Well,
Right outside, unbeknownst to me, a sheltered anchorage, was the Russian nuclear-powered battle cruiser Kirov. We weren't supposed to see that. I was pretty much the only one that I can recall that saw it. I had to peek around my Russian guide. What's that? He saw a big ship, big ship. I'm going, yeah, it looks big. But that was a battle cruiser which is being recommissioned. I guess the next year or two. Nuclear power that has all kinds of missiles, and oh man, you see something like that, you go, wow.
yeah.
Wow.
Lots of power.
Lots of power.
Deadly stuff.
Well, the end result is
Yeah.
yeah. But that really impressed me. And also, too, the Russian nation, or the USSR at that time, was opening up with glasnost and perestroika. We had access to things that nobody got.
Like what? What do you mean?
Well, they're training centers for the Russian Marine Corps. Their tanks, sitting inside the tanks,
Yeah.
even driving and starting it up.
Wow.
Holy cow, that was, big toy.
Yeah.
Right behind us, these guys that had their Hawaiian holiday shirts on, you know who they were. They were the sanctioned military intelligence people. Taking pictures and videos of all the weapons and stuff. And I handled some of their weapons, tore apart their RPK, which is their assault rifle, and I loved it.
Well, how did you get to do this? Like,
Well, we were sent on a tour, where you could tour. They wanted volunteers to go,
yeah.
and we were asked to bring presents, gifts. Okay, so bring a hat.
So this was a time when, like, you said perestroika, glasnost, the USSR was opening up in terms of, was this part of it? Like
it was where we share of who we are, what we do.
Yeah.
We talk with our Russian counterparts, and it was funny. A guy that was in my rank and in my trade on one of the destroyers in the harbor, he was no different than I. He had a girlfriend. He went to high school.
Yeah. He
He had dreams, thoughts, fears.
right.
Except he wore a different uniform.
Yeah.
So really, is he my enemy?
Yeah.
That's what we were trained to think these are bad people.
Yeah. Yeah. And all the time they think the same thing about you.
Of course, you demonize those you oppose.
You're taught to, I guess. Yeah. You spent some time in Asia. What was that like? And you talked a bit about it. What parts of Asia did you go? You mentioned Hawaii. Well, Hawaii's not really Asia.
No, it's in Micronesia.
Yeah, yeah.
Went to Korea.
Korea?
Went to Malaysia.
Yeah.
What else? Country? Well, China,
China?
Hong Kong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. What does Remembrance Day mean to you personally now? Like, it must mean a lot to you.
It does. I take a moment when, on the TV, I have the TV going and they say downtown is a moment of silence. I remember those who have gone before me, those who are present, and those that are yet to go.
Yeah.
And I just remember those we've lost.
Yeah. Do they have a special ceremony in your community?
I'm not sure.
No.
I'm not really sure of that, no.
Okay. Okay.
I imagine the Legion that's close by would have something.
Right. Yeah. What does reconciliation mean to you?
Well, that's a tough question. And I want to give that an intelligent answer.
It means a lot to different people, right? So
yeah, it does.
You don't, just what does it feel like to you? I mean,
well, you can't give back what a government has taken from you. They can't. Took away my culture. took away my language, separated my family. What it would mean for me is, okay, fair enough, I'm getting older, I've lived my life sort of thing, but for my 2 sons and my wife, give them the same rights and privileges as I have under the, whatever they call it nowadays, Indian Northern Affairs or what have you, by means of education, medical coverage, something like that.
Yeah. Well said. Thank you, Greg, for taking the time to do this with us.
My pleasure and my honor.
Yeah, thank you very much. Legacy of Hope Foundation, Roots and Hoots, thanks you very much also.
Thank you, sir.
Hey, okay, thank you.
Roots and Hoots is a podcast project produced by the Legacy of Hope Foundation. For episode show notes, please visit the podcast description and make sure to like, subscribe, and leave a review. For more information about the work we do, please visit legacyofhope.ca.